Welcome back. Okay, let's start with a big question. What if you could stop betting against the market's biggest players and actually start betting with them? Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful investment strategy. It's one that lets you peek at the cards of the world's best managers, all by using public information to, well, hack their best ideas. This whole strategy we're about to unpack, it's perfectly summed up by this quote from the legend himself, Charlie Munger. This isn't about trying to reinvent the wheel or being the smartest person in the room. No way. It's about a much simpler and honestly, a much more powerful idea: cloning genius. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about why the game is so tough for us individual investors. Then we'll get to the fun part, the hack to clone the pros. We'll even look at a case study on Warren Buffett to see if it actually works. Cover the risks, because there are always risks. And finally, show you how to build your very own team of all-stars. All right, first things first, we have to understand the problem. The stock market, a lot of the time, feels like a casino. And in that casino, the average person, well, you're playing against professionals with enormous resources. We call them the house. Ray Dalio, the founder of the world's largest hedge fund, he puts it perfectly. He says investing is like a high-stakes poker game. He's got 1,500 people working for him, spending hundreds of millions on research. So when you buy a stock, you are literally betting against someone like him. You really have to ask yourself, am I the sucker at this table? And this isn't just, a feeling. There was a huge study that found that 64%, almost two-thirds, of individual stocks actually underperform a simple market index over time. That means if you just pick a stock out of a hat, the odds are already stacked against you. So if playing against the house is basically a losing game, what's the alternative? Well, what if instead of trying to beat them, you could just look at their hand and bet right alongside them? Let's take a look at how that's even possible. This right here, this is the key to the whole thing. Form 13F. So thanks to SEC rules, any big-time investment manager has to publicly report their U.S. stock holdings every single quarter. It's a transparency rule meant to protect the market, but for us, it creates this incredible opportunity. And the process is actually surprisingly simple. Step 1, the pros file their holdings. Step 2, about 45 days later, that data becomes public record. And step 3, you can go online and see the actual shopping lists of the world's greatest investors for free. Okay, that all sounds great in theory, right? But does this thing actually work in the real world? To figure that out, let's look at a case study built around the master himself, Warren Buffett. Buffett himself has always pushed back on the idea that the market is perfectly efficient. His entire career is built on finding those amazing opportunities that everybody else misses. And those are exactly the kind of high-conviction bets that show up in his 13F filings. Okay, just look at this data. It's fascinating. This table shows the performance of a simple portfolio that did absolutely nothing, but by Buffett's top 10 stocks, rebalancing every quarter based on his public filings. Check out the year 2000 or 2008. While the market was basically a dumpster fire, this clone portfolio gave you some serious downside protection. Now, it doesn't win every single year, but that long-term pattern, that's what's so powerful. And here's the big picture, the real kicker. Over a 15-year period, this simple cloning strategy returned an annualized 10.5%. That's more than double the 4.3% from the S&P 500. So you could have gotten better returns with less volatility just by systematically following Buffett's public moves. It's pretty incredible. Now, I know this sounds amazing, but it's not a magic bullet, and we've got to do a reality check here. To use this tool the right way, you absolutely have to understand both its incredible advantages and its very real limitations. So it all comes down to a trade-off. On the plus side, you get access to these exclusive managers, you see every single holding, you're not locked in, and you skip those insane hedge fund fees. But, and this is a big but, there's that 45-day delay, so the info is a bit stale. You also can't see their short positions, and it's totally useless for high-frequency traders. And of course, even the best managers can lose their touch sometimes. So what's the big takeaway here? The real power isn't about just blindly copying one person. It's about using these filings to build a virtual team of the world's best analysts, your own personal idea farm. You want to pick managers with amazing long-term track records, people whose philosophy you actually get. You could create a mix, a deep value investor, an activist, a sector specialist, and create this amazing well of high-quality ideas for your own research. To really see this in action, let's look at another manager, someone with a totally different style from Buffett, David Tepper. He's known for being this really opportunistic investor who makes these big, bold bets on companies that are in trouble. His whole philosophy is about patience, waiting for that perfect pitch, that one idea you find on your farm. Looking at a sample of his holdings really gives you a feel for what this idea farm actually looks like. You see names like GM, Delta, NXP. Now, these aren't just stock tips. Think of them as starting points. Each one represents a deep thesis that a world-class team has spent millions to develop. Your job is to then ask, okay, why did Tepper buy this? And decide if that idea still makes sense for you. And that brings us right back to where we started. The goal isn't to become a day trader, trying to mimic every single move. It's to really embrace that Munger philosophy. Master the best ideas that the smartest people have already done all the hard work to figure out. It's all about being efficient, being humble, and stacking the odds in your favor. So I'll just leave you with this one question. The 13F filing is a tool that, in a way, lets you see the cards of the best players at the table. So, knowing what you know now, would you play your hand differently? Thanks for tuning in.